Welcome to a Council of Black Belts. I'm Shihan Scotty Phillips, and I hold the current ranking of 8th Dan, and I am Nidai Soki, second generation, head of family, Aido-Ryu, and I'll be the moderator of this episode, Courtesy. What is a Council of Black Belts? It is simply what the name implies. A group of black belts from various martial arts styles coming together to openly discuss various topics in and around the martial arts. In addition, it's an open and honest discussion, not only in martial arts studies and instruction, but on how to incorporate the martial arts into one's daily life. Our topic of discussion today is courtesy. The following on courtesy comes from the World Martial Arts Congress, the Guardian Manual, Lessons in the Martial Arts Leadership. The character traits, the roots of martial arts. Lesson, courtesy. Definition, enduring respect for and consideration of self and others, politeness, humility. Application in daily life. What becomes most difficult with this character trait is the ability to take our courteous practices within the dojang or dojo into the outside world. When one gets cut off in traffic, scowled at by passerby, or threatened uncivilly by a friend or associate, it becomes a challenge to be courteous in return. Human nature invites lashing out when faced with less than appropriate action on another's part. However, nothing will serve to diffuse anger more than a response such as, "God bless you," or "Have a nice day." How the Bible speaks of courtesy. A biblical definition of courtesy from the internet search defines courtesy as polite behavior that shows respect for others. Galatians verse 5:14, for all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Titus 3:2, to speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show perfect courtesy toward all people. Courtesy in the Japanese culture. Japanese culture is strongly rooted in proper etiquette. The rei, or bow, is a means of showing respect and or politeness, thus courtesy. Various translations of rei include courtesy, politeness, etiquette, manners, and bowing. When studying any language, however, especially Japanese, it's not always about knowing the exact translation. Actions always speak louder than words. If you want to understand courtesy in Japan, you must master the art of the rei. Rei is taken so seriously in Japan that there are different types of rei for different degrees of politeness, courtesy, and all depending upon how deeply one bows, with the angle of the rei ranging from 15 to 70 plus degrees. The deeper one bows, the greater respect, courtesy they are showing. In current day Japan, courtesy is so important that companies include bowing as part of new employee training. The panel is now open for discussion. What are your thoughts and or experiences with courtesy? Please feel free to share your thoughts as well as any additional topics you would like to see discussed. If you are interested in being a part of a council of black belts, please let me know. We have added an additional topic to our discussions called What Would Soki Say? This segment will allow us to hear the thoughts from those no longer with us on this side of the dojo. If you have a sensei who is no longer with you on this earthly journey, please share his or her thoughts on a topic and we'll include such thoughts when the topic is discussed. I look forward to hearing from you. Reach out to me via email at Aido-Ryu1982@gmail.com. That's AIDORYU1982@gmail.com. Thoughts shared by Grandmaster Richard Hackworth. Grandmaster Hackworth shares these thoughts on courtesy. As a young man, I got to see a lot of what I would call false courtesy. It would make me realize how important real courtesy is in the world. I share this example of false courtesy. The other day I was in a line of traffic waiting for the light to turn green. Finally it changed and the line slowly began to move. Then the car in front of me stopped to allow a person on a side street to merge in front of her. Then we began to move again. The car in front of me slipped through the intersection as the light turned red. I was stuck waiting again. I'm sure the lady in front of me was patting herself on the back for being such a nice person, letting the car in front of her enter the line of traffic. But she was demonstrating false courtesy. You see, she didn't just give up her space in line, she gave up mine too, and my place was not for her to give up. If you do something nice for somebody and it inconveniences you and you only, that's true courtesy. We should all be looking for opportunities to perform acts of true courtesy. But if you perform the same act and inconvenience others in the process, it's not courtesy at all. Courtesy is often described in this way: polite or considerate behavior, consideration for other people or good manners, something done out of politeness or consideration for another. Much of what I personally believe I learned from my friend and mentor, Bodie Sanders. You should be wise to read his works. Epictetus wrote that you should lay down your life at the outset, a certain stamp and type of character for yourself, which you are to maintain whether you are by yourself or meeting with people. This is very good advice. Part of this stamp should be that you always treat people with courtesy, especially if you're a true warrior. Courtesy is merely being polite to other people and being considerate of their feelings. Although there may be times when you don't feel like being courteous, do your best to get past the strong urge to be curt to someone else, even if he deserves it. Remember, manners say more about you than the other person, and courtesy simply boils down to good manners. Just because someone else is acting like a jerk, that is no excuse for you to do the same. Balistar Garcin wrote, "The man of principle never forgets what he is, because of what others are." This is a quote that every warrior should think about daily. You are not responsible for how other people act. You are only responsible for how you act. If someone is acting crude and inconsiderate, that tells those around him something about his character. But if you allow his actions to influence how you act, then you are lowering yourself to his level. This is not the way of the warrior. Warriors do not lower themselves to the standards of other people. They live independently, according to their own standards and code of honor. Winston Churchill put it all about as plainly as possible when he said, "Even when you have to kill a man, it costs nothing to be polite." This is a strong statement concerning your actions. If you should be polite, even if you must end someone's life, how much more should you be courteous and polite in normal everyday interactions? Simply put, be polite and courteous no matter what the circumstances. Thank you, Grandmaster Hackworth, for your thoughts. Grandmaster Hackworth shares an additional thought on courtesy. The superior man is one who demands excellence from himself, even though it is not required of him by anyone or anything else. He is a superior man because he pushes himself beyond the ordinary life of the average person and develops his life into a life of excellence. Seek to live a noble life and make courteous a part of what you are, not just a window dressing. Take pains to act in a way that is consistent with who you may want to be, even when people are pushing your buttons. Always remember your behavior tells others who you are, so never excuse bad behavior because of how someone else is behaving. Next, Dr. R.W. Stone shares his thoughts on courtesy. One of the 5 tenets of Korean martial arts is the concept of courtesy and is a major part of their training. Courtesy can be described as the act of politeness. Another definition would be the demonstration of politeness in one's attitude and behavior towards others. In other words, courtesy is a considered act relative to respect. It is the opposite of thoughtless or rude behavior. The very name martial arts implies a military origin, and as such follows many of the training and behavioral principles of any military organization. Respect, courtesy, and etiquette are integral to the formation, organization, and practice of such groups. Just as there is a military code of conduct, there is a martial arts code of conduct, whether written or merely understood. Its placement in training is not an accident. Etiquette, respect, and courtesy are the absolute fundamentals of military and martial arts training. Without courtesy, if no one is polite or respectful, talks over each other, or behaves in an individualistic manner that ignores others in the group, then the group devolves into a free-for-all and chaos reigns. Imagine, if you will, a battle where the officers orders an attack and the troops all act and decide on an individual course of action without respect for authority. Failure without success would be guaranteed. Therefore, from day one of military training, troops are taught to respect the rank and obey instruction, even if they don't necessarily respect the person. To emphasize the importance of this action, such as saluting higher ranks and remaining silent in their presence unless addressed, standing at attention, etc., are required. In like manner, martial arts students learn that respect is a hallmark of their style. Bowing to each other during class symbolizes a sense of courtesy that is shared between all members. From white belt on, you bow to higher ranks, and black belts in turn bow back to white belts to demonstrate and reciprocate. It seems indisputable that today there is a decline of common courtesy in our culture, possibly due to the following factors: the rise of social media with its dehumanization of personal relationships, the higher stress of modern lifestyles, parents being forced by financial circumstances to have someone else raise their children, leaving them in daycare, in public schools, etc. Increased violence in popular media. It appears to many that an appreciation of the value of courtesy is rapidly disappearing. Martial arts instructors are in a unique position to have a positive effect on society at large by teaching courtesy to our students. This can be done in various ways. First, be a model to others. Courtesy is never about do as I say, not as I do. Second, define it in terms that children can understand. Third, provide ample opportunity for courtesy to be practiced in your classes. Demonstrating courtesy merely means that you treat others with dignity and that you show restraint in your personal interactions. Children respect adults who mean what they say and practice what they preach. Such should be so when it comes to teaching courtesy, since younger children lack the ability to see situations from the perspectives of others. So when teaching young children, it may be more effective to frame character lessons in a way that relates the consequences of lacking courtesy and the benefits of displaying courtesy in a personal context. Martial arts instructors should work to promote mutual concession and understanding. They also should also be polite to one another and encourage the sense of justice, humanity, and fair play. Instructors should act according to decent manners of acceptable etiquette, respect the possessions of others, and handle matters with fairness and sincerity. Correction should be handled with fairness and sincerity and be age appropriate. Basically, we should display and teach the concept of courtesy at every opportunity, not because we are being observed or because we will be reprimanded if we don't, but because it is just the right thing to do. Phrases you will hear within the dojang when someone has demonstrated courtesy are yes sir, no ma'am, please, thank you, and you're welcome. These are the cornerstones of courtesy and respect. They indicate that you have good mental self-discipline and modesty. One of the first rules of etiquette taught is learning to bow. Many believe that you should look at the eyes of the person you are bowing to in case they attack you. But this shows disrespect and implies that you do not trust the person. Ask yourself, why are you bowing if you don't trust them in the first place? Remember also that a sincere bow is not a mere bob of the head. When martial artists shake hands, the left hand is also present, fingers touching the right elbow to show that nothing is being concealed. This show of respect can be demonstrated in all aspects of life, whether it is passing a weapon with both hands, the salt at the dinner table, or even handing over money. When passing an unsheathed bladed weapon, the courtesy way to do so is with sharp edge facing back to you. The other way around may have historically ended badly, as it is a challenge to a duel. Likewise, when performed in class, the edge is always placed facing away from the most senior thing in the room, usually the national flags at the front. Quality instructors will bow to you and call you sir, and ma'am, the same. If you show respect and self-discipline, you will be loved, welcomed, and treated as part of the family. The legendary Jigoro Kano made the fundamental point that in competition, while each of us is trying to beat the other, we are both improving our understanding of the art. The art is the fundamental thing, and we show respect for our partner. We are really showing respect for the art that we both love. Other rituals of respect follow the same logic. When we bow before entering the dojang, we show respect of the location specifically dedicated to our growth in the art. When we call our instructor sir or ma'am, we show respect for the person guiding us along the journey in the art. When we keep our belts from touching the ground, we show respect for the symbol of our progress in the art. Instructors take no egotistical pleasure in reminding a student to bow when you enter the dojang or to call him sir or ma'am. These signs of courtesy are not ultimately for the instructor, but rather are a teaching device for the student. They are indications that you have accepted an invitation to a certain way of life, a way few others understand. They are the prerequisites to enter a deeper, truer, more complete form of self-understanding. So the student's own sake, they should bow proudly when entering the dojang. Look their instructor in the eye and call him sir or ma'am. Keep the belt off the floor even when no one is looking. In other words, don't forget the importance of courtesy and behave in private as you would in public. Whenever one is offended by another person, even if it is by mistake, they should apologize as soon as possible. If you offend someone while others are present, make sure that those who are or were present are aware of your apology to the person whom you offended. This would also be proper even later once you realized your error. Negative criticism is the act of expressing disapproval and of noting the problems or faults of another. Constructive criticism is to analyze the work of others at his or her request for the purpose of improving the outcome. Unlike negative criticism, constructive criticism always identifies positive as well as negative aspects, with suggestions for improvement. Did you know there are over 20 types of criticism? The three that mostly relate to the martial arts are the constructive, positive, and negative categories. The goal of the martial arts instructor teaching of a student is to instill in them a positive, constructive energy. If you were to watch a class intently, and break down the teaching methods of an instructor. There are a lot of different things happening within a class. Of course, there's the physical training, to which all students can relate. If a martial arts student was asked by an outsider what he or she is learning, the initial response would be to describe the techniques taught. A subsequent response by a higher ranked belt student, however, might be to describe the mental aspects of the martial arts, such as meditation, focus, concentration, discipline, attitude, and related items. Etiquette finally might be far down the list of considerations only a highly ranked black belt might think of mentioning it. Now that you're aware of where this is heading, the next time you go to class, listen closely to what the instructor is saying and how it is presented. How many times do you hear negativity? Compare that with all the constructive and positive comments. When is the last time, if ever, did you hear the instructor speak negatively? As black belts, we should be mentally trained to think positively, so we should not speak negatively. By now, you should be sensitive to how criticism affects others and ourselves. Negative criticism is partially an effort to rid oneself of frustrations by venting inner feelings and transferring to others. How many times did you complain about something or someone? Was it because you were frustrated over something you had no control over, such as traffic? Did the event leave you feeling helpless, frustrated, and perhaps even anxious? A true martial artist refuses to let him or herself be negatively affected by anything. It will have a positive or constructive result. Negative criticism is actually a demonstration of a lack of courtesy. Part of becoming a true martial artist is to learn to transform the negative and turn it into positive, because criticism and negativity affects your health, as well as distancing you from harmony. It shortens your lifespan. You don't live as healthfully. It negatively affects your social life. It takes away from your enjoyment of life. You have less energy. It causes increased pain, and it increases the possibility of disease or poor health. Criticism affects your overall behavior and demeanor. In martial arts terms, your reaction to negativity will determine whether you will be a poor instructor or an instructor who inspires your students to do and say the correct things. Finally, when critiquing a student's faults with a negative or discourteous comment, be sure that when giving such advice that you balance it by following up with a positive comment, such as, to help improve this technique, you should try doing it this way, instead of, you're doing the technique wrong, this is how it's done. While nearly all martial artists are aware of the basic practice of etiquette, courtesy, while in the dojang, few give even a passing thought to applying it in written and speech. The author had a recent telephone conversation with a grandmaster of international fame. This grandmaster used more profanity when referring to others within the first 5 minutes of the conversation than the author had heard in years. All respect and confidence in this individual immediately disappeared, making true the old axiom, how can I believe what you say when what you are speak so loudly? Whether right or wrong, the discourteous manner of addressing me and others bespoke a poor martial arts training regardless of rank. This sort of behavior is becoming ever more common in print and on social media. One should remember the other saying, when you wrestle with pigs, you both get dirty, but only the pig will be happy. Years ago in college, the author was enjoying an after-dinner discussion with a group of student friends in the lobby. When another joined our group, within minutes apparently disagreeing with my politics, he informed me he was studying the martial arts, and if I didn't shut up, he would take me apart. I was furious, but since there were girls present, I merely nodded and excused myself from the group and headed back to my dorm room. As I left, I could hear him boasting of how he had backed the coward down. Upon arriving at my room, I swallowed my pride and 2 glasses of Alka-Seltzer. 2 days later, I answered a knock at my door. I opened it to face the same individual who immediately apologized. He had heard untrue rumors about me that he believed and hated me from before he ever met me. He informed me he would since learn the truth that I outranked him in the arts and could easily have killed him had I wished. I smiled and invited him in, saying it took a big man to apologize. We later had a good relationship during college. I might have won the fight, but I would have lost the war. Being courteous might have been difficult for my John Wayne type ego, but it led me to a very satisfactory and, more important, peaceful resolution to the problem. Courtesy should be a tenet in all of our lives. Thank you, Dr. Stone, for your words and thoughts. Thank you for your time today. Look forward to speaking with you next month. Have a blessed day.